Welcome everyone. Soumya, hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So we are going to discuss a very important topic today. Okay, in the earlier classes, what I've told you that you have to revise all this week. You're having a test. So ये जो test है, I'll discuss some of the questions in the class tomorrow. We have a Friday. Then on Friday we will discuss the questions. The question which I'm going to give you. ठीक है, क्योंकि इस बार मैंने टेस्ट बहुत लेंदी बनाया है. तो I want कि आपको टेस्ट से लेकर so that you will be able to do it in a better way. मैं आपको questions reveal सारी नहीं करूंगी. I'll just give you some sort of hint. क्योंकि ultimately लिखना आपको ही है, right? There I'll be checking your skills. So I'm not revealing the question. It's just I'm telling you this is how you have to frame it. ठीक है? जैसे कुछ question है which I like to tell. जैसे areal differentiation we have not done, but this is in the PYQ. ठीक है? Which I have included in the test. Then there is a Richard Hartshorne debate. So that debate we will do today. What is this debate all about? Discuss dualism in geography. ठीक है? Neo-determinism हम करेंगे आज ही. Okay. Then major schools of geographical thought ये आपको पता ही है. जो geography की sometimes what happen कभी-कभी questions ऐसे आ जाते हैं. Schools of thoughts क्या है geography के? जैसे determinism है, ये school of thought है. Possibilism school of thought. ठीक है? Neo-determinism, this is also school of thought. Quantitative revolution, जो quantitative nature दिखाया गया. Systematic geography, ये सब क्या है आपका एक particular school of thought present करता है. So there could be a point where you know the answer of some of, you know it already. आपको determinism पता है, environmental determinism पता है, आपको there is a term called environmental determinism, will come on that too. आपको पॉसिबिलिज्म पता है, बट नाउ द पॉइंट इज कि आपको ये नहीं पता कि स्कूल ऑफ थॉट को मैं कैसे डिस्क्राइब करूं. So it becomes a challenge. So in that way also you have to prepare the questions. ठीक है? लैंडस्केप अप्रोच का मतलब क्या है? So ये सारी चीजें आपको पता होनी चाहिए. So I have set a paper in that way. कल हम इसको मतलब कुछ टॉपिक्स आज डिस्कस कर लेंगे, कुछ टॉपिक कल. So this is how I will develop the answer. ठीक है? All right. So पहला स्टार्ट करते हैं किससे? एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म से. देखिए पहला स्टार्ट करते हैं एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म एंड पॉसिबिलिज्म. क्या डिफरेंस है एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म पॉसिबिलिज्म में? और हम ये ऐसे साइलोस में डिस्कस नहीं करेंगे. We will see in the past also how environmental determinism and possibilism has been discussed. This is not the first time that the environmental determinism has been discussed. This time only. पहले भी डिस्कस किया जा चुका है. पहले मतलब इन द पास्ट टाइम्स. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट इन द पास्ट टाइम में. ठीक है? क्या मतलब है इस चीज का? सुनिए ध्यान से. जब हम एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म की बात करते हैं, सो वी आर ट्राइंग टू टेल यू दैट एनवायरमेंट हैज अ मोर पावर देन यू, नेचर हैज अ मोर पावर देन यू. So we are giving the command in the nature's hand, and we are saying everything, whether it's a human settlement, culture, economy, and behavior, everything is determined by environment. जो environment हमें opportunities देता है, जो environment is actually ruling everything around us. So we want to do a lot of things, but nature sets the limit. Nature क्या set कर रहा है? Limit कैसे? It could be your climatic limits. For example, the temperature of a certain area is too dry and cold. If it is too dry and cold, what would happen? You won't be able to do work properly, right? Agar the terrain of the landform is such that it's quite steep, so you won't be able to transport something, so क्या होगा, वहाँ का इकोनॉमी बहुत डिस्टर्ब हो जाएगा. सिमिलरली अगर कोई एरिया में हैबिटेबल नहीं है, बैरन लैंड है, इवन द फर्टिलाइजर्स कैन नॉट हेल्प, सो तब भी एनवायरमेंट इज रूलिंग इट. तो इसको क्या बोलते हैं हम, दिस कॉन्सेप्ट इज नोन एज एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म. What do you call it as? Environment, where environment is taking the control of everything which is around us. Although human has the capability and the capacity to do and change the things around them, but still there is an external force which you call it as environment, which is determining everything around you. Now, the very first person who was in aligned with the environmental determinism was, then I'll start with the 20th century, 19th century only. So I'm not going back in the time of Greek scholars, etc. So it was Darwin. So Darwin has stated what? In Origin of Species, what he said? Theory of evolution. What is the theory of evolution? He said that with time, organisms evolve and adapt within the environment. The same concept was used by Herbert Spencer. And Herbert Spencer said that why can't we apply this theory to the human societies wherein they also evolve over a period of time. And also he has given the selection, he has given the concept of, and also he has given the concept of what? Selection. Selection means what? The survival, selection and the survival of the fittest. Selective means what? You are going to adopt certain trait to stay in the environment. Okay? So we call it as selection and survival of the fittest. The survival of the fittest, the concept was given by Herbert Spencer, which we call as social Darwinism. This concept is known as social Darwinism. Okay? So this theory in all is what? Purely environmental determinism. Why? Because the habits of the person is changing, the traits of a species is changing on the basis of the environment in which it is surrounded. ठीक है? तो पहला कॉन्सेप्ट किसने दिया? डार्विन ने. डार्विन को अडॉप्ट किसने किया? हर्बर्ट स्पेंसर ने. एंड फाइनली इस कॉन्सेप्ट को किसने प्रोड्यूस किया अपनी बुक्स में? रैडजल. कौन सी बुक में? एंथ्रोपोजोग्राफी. एंड फाइनली दिस वाज फर्दर developed and further the additions for value additions were done by Ellen Churchill Sample, who was an American geographer. In her book Influences of Geography, has given further point that this is what, this particular point जहाँ पे आप कंपेयर कर रहे हैं एक ह्यूमन को, कहाँ से? एक ह्यूमन को कंपेयर कर रहे हैं ऑर्गेनिज्म से और स्टेट को. बेसिकली ही सेड दैट इसी कॉन्सेप्ट को रैडजल ने बोला. अब ये तो ऑर्गेनिज्म ह्यूमन को सोसाइटीज तक की थे. हर्बर्ट स्पेंसर, रैडजल ने इसको एक फर्दर स्टेप ले गए और इसको क्या कंपेयर किया? स्टेट को ऑर्गेनिज्म से कंपेयर किया और कहा जैसे ह्यूमन सोसाइटीज और ऑर्गेनिजम्स दे go for the expansion because the one which is great, the one which is highly capable has the right to expand, and therefore this theory started, which you call it as superior races, they do expand and the right of superior races to expand is also right, because रैडजल ने ही पढ़ा क्या? हर जगह का ट्राइब, रेस, ओरिजिन, और उन्हें ये भी देखा कि इनका सेटलमेंट कैसे चेंज हो रहा है. जर्मन्स का सेटलमेंट उन्होंने चेक किया, एक्सप्लोर किया कि कैसे जर्मन बिहेव करते हैं जर्मनी के अंदर एंड हाउ डू दे बिहेव इन अमेरिका. जर्मन्स अमेरिका गए तो उन्होंने ये देखा कि सेम ट्राइब है और सेम ट्राइब डिफरेंट जगह पे किस तरह से बिहेव कर रही है. तो इसका मतलब क्या है? एनवायरमेंट हैज अ बिगर रोल टू प्ले. ठीक है? So they all were the biggest propounders, they were biggest supporter of the environmental determinism. Are you getting? Are all of you? ठीक है, पॉइंट समझ में आ रहा है? तो दिस इज हाउ वी हैव टू लिव. अब ये एक कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है. कॉन्सेप्ट मतलब किसी स्कॉलर ने इसको डिफरेंट तरीके से बताया, किसी स्कॉलर ने इसको डिफरेंट तरीके से बताया. So we don't have only one way of explaining it. Everyone had a different way of explaining environmental determinism in their own way. But still we call all of them as a part of environmental determinism. कुछ traits पहले ही किसने दे दिए थे? कार्ल रिटर ने. कार्ल रिटर ने पहले ही बोल दिया था that men and environmental relationship is very important, and then he stated environment as a key role, is a key determinant in explaining the how the men behavior of a man is changing. So again वो भी किसके सपोर्टर हैं? ऑफ एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म की. ठीक है, तो इसमें सबसे पहले जो नेम आता है जो बहुत ही ज्यादा पॉपुलर है वो है फ्रेडरिक रैडसल, व्हिच आई हैव एक्सप्लेन. नेक्स्ट इज एलन चर्चिल सेम्पल, and the last one is Ellsworth Huntington. Now yesterday only I have explained you Ellsworth Huntington was an American modern geographer and he was a climatologist. A climatologist ने क्या एक्सप्लेन किया? एक उन्होंने बुक लिखी द पल्स ऑफ एशिया, एंड पल्स ऑफ एशिया में उन्होंने ये डिस्क्राइब किया कि कैसे एक जो पर्सन है, जो एक फॉर एग्जांपल आपका एक men है, how they change the behavior according to the environment. Similarly एक और उन्होंने बुक लिखी जिसका नाम था क्लाइमेट एंड कंडीशंस. उसमें उन्होंने ये डिस्क्राइब किया कि आपका जो ह्यूमंस है, जो आपका बहुत एक्सट्रीम एनवायरनमेंट होता है वहाँ पे वो अनप्रोडक्टिव हो जाते हैं, और जहाँ पे नॉर्मल एनवायरनमेंट होता है वहाँ पे प्रोडक्टिव रहते हैं. उन्होंने नॉर्थ अमेरिका यूरोपियन के क्लाइमेट को बेटर माना देन द अदर पार्ट्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. So this is how in their own way they were explaining that how environmental determinism is. And ये environmental, ये आपका आ जाएगा geography advances in geographical thought. ये जो जितने भी मैं thoughts आपको पढ़ा रही हूँ, ये जो environmental determinism है, possibilism जो हम पढ़ेंगे, हार्टशोन स्टेफर का डिबेट जो हम पढ़ेंगे, ये सब किसमें आ जाएगा? एडवांसेस इन ज्योग्राफिकल थॉट. अब तक हम क्या पढ़ रहे थे? ज्योग्राफिकल थॉट. ये सब क्या है? एडवांसेस इन ज्योग्राफिकल थॉट. ठीक है, तो स्टार्ट राइटिंग, लिखना शुरू करिए. एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म, राइट डाउन द हेडिंग एनवायरमेंटल. इसमें कोई भी डाउट है आपको तो पूछ सकते हैं. एनीबॉडी हैज एनी काइंड ऑफ अ डाउट यू कैन आस्क. सबसे पहले लिखिए. ठीक है, लिखिए एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म. लिखिए it is a geographical theory that states physical environment, especially landform. It is a geographical theory that states physical environment, especially landforms, climate, and natural resources. क्या क्या डिटरमाइन करेगा? लैंडफॉर्म, क्लाइमेट, आपका लैंडफॉर्म हो गया, आपका क्लाइमेट हो गया, आपका नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज हो गया. ठीक है, डिटरमाइंस ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज. which three things? Landform, climate, landform, climate, and natural resources. क्या डिटरमाइन करते हैं? What do they determine? Right now, human activities. ह्यूमन का क्या एक्टिविटीज है? उनका कल्चर, क्या कल्चर एडॉप्ट कर रखा है उन्होंने. नेक्स्ट, सोसाइटल डेवलपमेंट. ये सब कुछ किस पे डिपेंड करता है? आपके एनवायरनमेंट पे डिपेंड करता है. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट, अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस व्यू human beings are largely shaped by, according to this view, human beings are largely shaped by natural surroundings. According to this view, human beings are largely shaped by natural surroundings. और natural surroundings में क्या आएगा आपका? सब कुछ, जैसे you can define specifically landform, climate and natural resources. Right on next. Environmental factors control factors such as social, economic. Environmental factors control factors such as first point, write down. Factors such as, लिखिए, social, economic and political progress. Social, economic and political progress. They determine what? Social, economic and political progress. Next point. Environmental determinism is a belief that human behavior and development of civilization. Environmental determinism is a belief that human behavior and development of civilization are controlled by. It's a belief that human behavior and development. It's a belief that human behavior and development of civilization are controlled by natural environment. ठीक है, इसके मेन फीचर्स लिखिए, राइट डाउन इट्स मेन फीचर. फर्स्ट इज नेचर इज अ डोमिनेंट फोर्स इन ह्यूमन लाइफ. पहला क्या है? नेचर इज अ डोमिनेंट फोर्स. तो उनको क्या लगता है नेचर क्या है? डोमिनेंट फोर्स है ह्यूमन की लाइफ के अंदर. मींस दे पुट एंड सेट लिमिटेशंस इन ह्यूमन लाइफ, नेचर. सेकंड पॉइंट लिखिए, राइट डाउन द सेकंड पॉइंट. Climate influences people character, culture. Climate influences people's character, culture, and economic activities. Next point लिखेंगे. Human choices are limited by environmental conditions. Human choices are limited by environmental conditions. Okay. So I like to elaborate on all the points that we have discussed. The first one is nature is a dominant force. So keyword is nature is a dominant force. Next, it determines character, culture, and economic activities. Then climate influences people, character, culture, and economic activities. Then human choices are limited by environment. Okay? Human choices are limited by environmental conditions. Next point. Differences in societies are mainly explained through, write down, differences in society in societies are mainly explained through differences in society are mainly explained through environmental factors. They are mainly explained through what? Environmental factors. क्या आपके environmental factors है उस पर क्या depend करेगा? Yes sir. ठीक है. Okay. Now write down the major proponent of it. कौन इसके major proponent थे? तो लिखिए major proponent. The first one and very important one is in the 20th century. Sorry, in the 19th century, Radson. Then Alan Churchill Sample and Ellsworth Huntington. The best part is we have already done and we know very well about all these scholars. So हमें कुछ ज़्यादा we don't have to put lot of effort in understanding this concept. हमें सिर्फ ये समझना है कि उन्होंने क्या-क्या point पे emphasize किया. Otherwise we know about each one of them. ठीक है? Write down. People living in desert regions develop lifestyle. People living, the examples आप support कर सकते हैं environmental determinism की. Example लिखिए. People living in desert develop the lifestyle so that they should not face the water scarcity, so that they should not have the problem due to the water scarcity. Next, write down criticism. What is the criticism of this thought? अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं हर थॉट के बारे में, हर स्कूल के बारे में, तो हमें ये भी देखना पड़ेगा कि उनका क्या आपका क्रिटिसिज्म हो सकता है. So don't you think they have given everything to the environment? उन्हें सब कुछ किस पे डालते हैं? environment पे. environment decide करेगा culture, environment decide करेगा economy, environment decide करेगा human societal characters. All of these has been given to, the power is given to the environment. So do you think how fair it is? No. Despite of the fact the environment is not providing us opportunity in certain conditions, humans have proved environment wrong. For example, if I talk about Rajasthan, ठीक है? Rajasthan में the minimum rainfall is there, but still with the help of the technology, with the help of certain inventions, with the certain innovations, we have been able to grow well, right? If I talk about certain areas which are climatically or geographically quite difficult to go, there also through technology now the humans can reach. So they have undermined the power, the capacity of a human. So you cannot say the environment is a leading actor in this. Human has a very important role to play in the environment as well, and they have proved the environment to be wrong in a lot of places. So having said that, it becomes very, very important that you should consider that environment is not a leading actor, is not the only leading actor. Humans have the similar kind of a capacity, and therefore they can prove environment wrong in many of the places. Okay? So we will put down, we'll write in a constructive way, in a very nice way. लिखिए criticism लिखिए first point. It ignores human intelligence. पहला लिखेंगे it ignores human intelligence, technology and innovation, comma, technology and innovation. Next point. People can modify environment. People can modify environment through irrigation. People can modify environment through irrigation, comma, transportation and modern technologies. Next point. Similar environments can have different culture and level of development. ऐसा होता है कि दो जगह है, अगर आप ये बोल रहे हैं कि एनवायरनमेंट ही डिटरमाइन करता है, तो दो जगह पे सेम तरह के लोग, सेम तरह का पैटर्न वी कुड हैव सीन, बट व्हाई इज दैट despite of the fact all the environmental conditions are identical in the two places, still we are getting the different set of a patterns of the human settlement or of the humans, the culture or activities or their economic patterns are tend to be quite different in both the places. So there must be something else apart from just environment. So right now I'm again repeating this point. Similar environment can have different cultures. Right. So, okay, getting back to it, right on. Similar environments can have different culture and level of development. Next, we're making the last point. It overemphasizes nature's role. Next point, it overemphasizes nature's role and underestimates social, economic and cultural factors. It underestimates social, economic and cultural factors. अभी आपने ये सब देखा, राइट? इसमें एक नेम और ऐड कर लीजिए. Although he was not a very he was also, I mean, have you heard about the MS Davis that I was telling you yesterday? I hope you have read about him also, written about him. I've given a question related to that as well. How many of you recall? कल एक क्वेश्चन दिया था मैंने related to MS Davis. Right. So that question आपको खुद ही उसमें ही पता चल जाता अगर आपने वो किया होगा कल अटेम्प्ट. So MS Davis was also one of the ardent supporter of environmental determinism. What he has given, geomorphology में इसका काफी डिस्क्रिप्शन, डिटेल डिस्क्रिप्शन आता है. Where we discuss the theory, landform, the theory of what? The landform evolution that we discuss, geographical cycle of erosion, geographical cycle we discuss of the MS Davis, right? उसके अंदर वो क्या बताते हैं that there is a young stage, there is a mature stage, there is a old stage, and then finally it's also what? It is time dependent. It is time dependent. So all of this is what? कि क्या है ये? This is the nature. So nature, environment is taking the control over everything. So write down. देखिए, Davis was also the ardent supporter of the paradigm of determinism. Davis was also the ardent supporter of paradigm of determinism, while Asiha Boyman, while ISAIAH, while Asiha ISAIAH Bowman championed the cause of paradigm of possibilism. Championed the cause of paradigm of possibilism. So Asiha Bowman was what? He's favoring the possibilism, which is opposite to the idea of environmental determinism. Okay? Write down next. Ellsworth Huntington stressed the importance of climatic determinism, full stop. In his book Pulse of Asia, we have also discussed this book yesterday. In his book Pulse of Asia, which was written in 1907, in his book Pulse of Asia, which was written in 1907, he attempted to correct the period of drought. He attempted to correlate. Please change it. He attempted to correlate the period of droughts with historical data. He attempted to correlate the period of droughts with historical data. Next. इनफैक्ट उन्होंने ये भी बोला, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंगली, प्लीज सुन लीजिए, उन्होंने ये भी बोला कि जो नोमैडिक लोग आए थे हिस्ट्री के अंदर, व्हाई दे हैव कम हियर, नोमैडिक पीपल came in the India, Mongols, because they were basically from the Central Asia. These people have gone to the different places and invaded the places only because at certain point in the season, at certain point in the annual season, there was a time where the pastures and every place used to get quite infertile, and then they have to migrate from that place. So in search of the better place, so that they can have a stability in their settlement, so they wanted to go and they searched for the different places. Otherwise क्या होता, the Central Asia इतना ज़्यादा hot नहीं होता उस particular duration में, so they would have not moved and migrated. But because of the extreme climatic conditions happening in certain season, they were forced to migrate to different places so that finally they can find some place where the settlement could be permanent. So these people were what? Nomadic. So they not only came to India and invaded, but also they have went to the Eastern European country. So this is how he has explained. So likhiye, he concluded that migration of nomadic people, he concluded that migration of nomadic people from Central Asia that led to Mongol conquest of India, and China, and along with that, invasion of Eastern Europe, in the 13th century, could be explained through drawing up of postures. Write down. In his second book, Civilization and Climate, 1915. He wrote this book in 1950. In his book, Civilization and Climate, 1915. Next point, the generalization he formulated that men's civilization only develops in the region. Men's civilizations only develop in the region of stimulating climate. Men's civilization only develops in stimulating climate, and monotonous heat of tropics would forbid attainment of higher level of civilization. He emphasized the role of, very important, climate determinism. Climate, अगर ये word आता है environmental determinism की जगह climate determinism, so now you know how to explain it. ठीक है? Climate determinism क्या है? Where climate is taking the leading role, apart from the other parts of the nature, other components of the nature. So उन्होंने क्या बोला? He said very well, he has defined it, that it is not possible to work in a climate where it is too hot or too cold. यही बोला उन्होंने, that monotonous heat of tropics would forbid means मना कर देगा for the attainment of higher level of civilization. मतलब अगर आप permanently settle नहीं हो पाएंगे वहाँ पे, तो आप कैसे higher level of settlement कर पाएंगे? And उन्होंने क्या बोला, जो stimulating environment है वो क्या provide करता है? ज्यादा अपॉर्चुनिटी. तो यहाँ पे क्लाइमेट का रोल बहुत बड़ा है. तो इसको क्या बोला गया? क्लाइमेटिक डिटर्मिनिज्म. ठीक है, just read out that once and let me know if any part of this you have not got. एलन चर्चिल सैंपल में आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, जो आपने कल लिखा था वही सब रेपिटेशन है, सेम चीज. ओके, आई विल बी रिपीटिंग. वही चीज आपको वहां से यहाँ लिखनी है. एलन चर्चिल सैंपल ने क्या बोला? शी वॉज वन ऑफ द ग्रेट प्रोटैगनिस्ट ऑफ द पैराडाइम ऑफ डिटर्मिनिज्म. एलन चर्चिल सैंपल who studied the Ratzel at Leipzig. She greatly stimulated by Ratzel's different approaches to the paradigm of determinism. किस बुक में रिफ्लेक्ट किया गया था? Anthropogeography, where she attempted to emphasize geographic influences on the course of history. आर्टिकल्स कौन से पब्लिश किए? कल मैंने आपको लिखवाया था Appalachian Barrier in American History, which was written. Then 1901 में लिखा उन्होंने पेपर बेस्ड ऑन her own field observation, which is highland of eastern Kentucky, regarding the results of isolation on the settlers of that area. Then 19th, okay, that's all. So that's all. जो आपने कल ही लिखा था उसी को आप यहाँ पे अपने शॉर्ट वर्ड्स में यहाँ पे लिख लेंगे. बिकॉज चर्चिल was also, Ellen Churchill sample was also one of the greatest supporter of it. So you just copy from there and write down. सेम चीज है, वही चीज लिखनी है जो कल हमने एलन चर्चिल सैंपल के लिए लिखी थी, बट थोड़ा बस यहाँ पे डिस्क्राइब कर दी थी, सो दैट व्हाइल यू आर गोइंग टू द नोट्स यू शुड नो हमने चर्चिल के बारे में भी एक्सप्लेन किया है. क्विकली डू इट इन 2 minutes. Okay, now I hope that you have written. Online students, have you written? Okay, now next come back to the 19th century determinism. Come back to it. 19th century पे आइए. What is this 19th century determinism? What it is telling about? And who are its greater supporters? We'll see that also briefly. The 19th century geographers were involved in framing. The 19th century geographers were involved in framing deterministic hypothesis. Were involved in framing deterministic hypothesis. Next point. Two such geographers of early part of the century. Two such geographers of the early part of the century were Karl Ritter, and Alexander von Humboldt. Karl Ritter and Alexander von Humboldt. Next point. Humboldt viewed problem of determinism. Humboldt viewed the problem of determinism in clear scientific manner. And he realized that environment influences men. Then we'll talk about Darwin. Heading डालिए. The idea of, he was also, write down, आप bracket में लिख सकते हैं, supporter of determinism. Then write down the idea of selection and struggle. Now you'll write Darwin. The idea of selection and struggle. Put it in a single inverted commas. Selection and struggle. The idea of selection and struggle. Put it in single inverted comma. Selection and struggle found in the first legitimate expression. Hold on. Okay. Write down. Class is going on. Okay, write down. The idea of selection and struggle found in the first legitimate expression in the view of British philosopher Herbert Spencer. या फिर इसको सिंपल लैंग्वेज में लिख सकते हैं. The idea of selection and struggle was taken from the articles of Herbert Spencer. Herbert Spencer, write down. Who elaborated what is known as social Darwinism. And also you will put social Darwinism as in a single inverted commas. What is known as social Darwinism, and you understand what social Darwinism is. Okay? Full stop. He believed that human societies closely resembled, animal organisms, and that human societies must struggle in order to survive. Human society must struggle in order to survive in a particular environment. Full stop. Social Darwinism provided A contemporary thinking, social Darwinism provided a new dimension to contemporary thinking of determinism. Of contemporary thinking of determinism. Okay. The next that we have to do is possibilism. But before that, do a question. Please write down a question. Likhiye. Explain environmental determinism through the lens of Paul Vidal. Environmental determinism way through the lens of Ellsworth Huntington. Explain the environmental determinism through the lens of Ellsworth Huntington. This is one question, one assignment question which I'm giving to you. Okay? Just go through that, then we will start with the possibilism. Okay, done. Okay, next लिखेंगे possibilism heading डालेंगे. Write on the heading possibilism. This was entirely different from the environmentalism. Okay. What is this environmental determinism is saying? Environmental determinism is saying it's keeping a environment as a dominant position. Possibilism saying that humans have the more capacity, they have the more capability of changing the odds of the environment. So even if the environment is at odds for humans, humans can still, due to their innovation, due to their human intelligence, due to their technology, they can change the scenario, they can change the particular environment and make it adapt, make it best for themselves. Okay, and that's why it is only not the environment which is playing the leading actor, it's a human who are playing the leading actor into that. So what is the thing? It's a possibilist paradigm. So who has supported it? It was a French geographer whose name is Paul Vidal de la Blache, right? So Vidal de la Blache was one of the greatest supporter of it, and apart from that, there are other supporters also of the possibilism. Further, it was refined, and it was the word possibilism was basically given by the February, and then the later parts. So the point is here that who is supporting it and why. Okay, so we'll start with the definition first. Write down possibilist paradigm. Possibilist paradigm writes that the physical environment tends to provide opportunity. The physical environment tends to provide opportunity for a range of possible human responses. For the range of possible human responses. Next point. It is the geographical theory that states environment provides possibilities and opportunities, but humans have the ability to modify their environment through knowledge, technology, and culture. So what do you mean by this? That environment के पास क्या है? Environment ने आपको endless क्या दिया है? Possibilities दी हैं, opportunities दी है. Now think of it, even when you are having so much of possibilities around you and you are not able to put them in a correct manner, in a way it should have been done, you do not know. अगर मेरे पास ये कोई टूल है और मुझे ये पता ही नहीं इस टूल को यूज कैसे करना है, so there is no point of it having or not having. ठीक है, इसका existence होना ना होना is the similar thing to me because I do not know how to use it. So the point is, we know that environment is providing the opportunity to all of us, but how we use it, how we respond to it is only dependent on the humans. So humans are doing what? They are giving the responses to the environment, and that's how they have been able to live in this environment very nicely. So the possibility paradigm क्या है? That physical environment tend to provide opportunity for a range of possible human responses. So human responses उनको पता है कि अगर आएगा, for example, environment is giving me opportunity. अगर ये fertile land है और मैं इसको use ही नहीं कर पा रही हूँ because I do not know how to make best use of it. So that means having a land and not having a land is similar thing to me. Okay, that makes no difference. So next is, it is a geographical theory that states that the environment provides possibilities and the opportunities, but the humans have ability to. ये geographical theory ही बोलती है कि environment हमें क्या provide करता है, बहुत ज़्यादा opportunities देता है, possibilities देता है, और humans के हाथ में है कि उसको किस तरह से modify करते हैं. तो किस तरीके से, what are the tools of the humans through which they are able to get the maximum, the best out of the environment through their knowledge, through their technology, and through their culture. Next, write down. Possibilism argues that environment does not completely control human activities, but instead human beings can adapt to and transform their surroundings. But human beings can adapt to or transform their surroundings according to their needs. Write down its main features. Human geography. Okay. Write down. Okay. Write down. लिखिए. Main features लिखिए. Humans are active agents, not the passive product of the agents. According to the possibilism, humans are the active agents. Write down. Humans are the active agents. Write down. Humans are the active agents and comma, not the passive product of the nature. Next point. Environment provides several possibilities. Next point. Environment provides several possibilities for the development. Environment provides several possibilities for the development. Okay. Environment provides several possibilities for the development. Next, write down. Technology and culture help people. Technology and culture help people overcome environmental constraints. Write down next. Technology and culture help people overcome environmental constraints. Next point. Human choices play an important role. Human choices play an important role in shaping society. Human choices play an important role in shaping human societies. In shaping societies. That's it. Write down. The main supporter, Likhi, the main supporter of it was Paul Vidal de la Blache. The main supporter of it, this was Paul Vidal de la Blache, who is regarded as the founder of possibilism. Who is regarded as the founder of possibilism. Example में लिखेंगे George Perkins Marsh of America. George Perkins Marsh. George लिखेंगे Perkins Marsh. He was a very interesting person. He did not study the geography at all, but he made a very important statement. That's why I have to include him. Write down. He said he was a scholar and he was conscious of men's power and action. He was conscious of George Perkins Marsh of America was a scholar who was conscious of men's power and action. Next, Paul Vidal de la Blache insisted that nature sets limit and offers offers possibilities for human settlement. Nature sets limit and offer possibilities for human settlement. But the way men adjusts and react, depends completely on his way of living. It depends completely on his way of living. And what do you understand by way of living? Way of living का मतलब होता है, write down, way of living means, in Germany, how do we call it? Genre de vie, right? I do not know German very well. So it's just that I am also pronouncing the way it was written, genre de vie. So this is what, so basically he used this term, not the way of living. But what do you understand by way of living over here? So अगर आपका कोई culture है, for example, अगर आपके culture में है, that you can respond. For example, अगर छोटा सा example देखते हैं जिससे हम सब relate कर सकते हैं. अगर हम कश्मीर जाते हैं, तो we have seen how humans have responded to the extreme cold conditions. They have started putting, what do you call it as, they do have this under their pashmina shawl, where they keep on keeping their hands warm through, what do you call it, that's kangri or something. So kangri is the word. So this is a human response. ये culture में आ गया उनका culture बन चुका है कि everybody carries that. So it is not it's not that they were knowing it already. It's just their culture has adopted, their culture has become so adaptable to the environment that now उनको पता है कि उनको क्या करना है. ठीक है, उनको इनफैक्ट वी लर्न फ्रॉम देम दैट व्हाट दे आर डूइंग टू कीप देमसेल्व्स वार्म इन सच एन एक्सट्रीम कंडीशंस. So the point here is that when you know the culture is quite dominant, जब the culture dominant हो गया, कहाँ पे? Over the environment, because you have responded in a way that you are making the environment suitable for yourself. You are not letting the environment dominate you. You are doing what you want to. So this is what we call as way of living. तो ये आपका, जैसे मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया, अभी ये क्या बन गया? वे ऑफ लिविंग. जर्मन में इनको क्या बोला गया? जॉनरे डे वे. ठीक है. So he used literally this word only, word, because he has written all of these things in German, but lately it was transferred, it was translated into the English language. So this is what we understand from this, कि किस तरह से आप response करते हैं. तो nature set करेगा limit. It is the humans and the culture of them is how we react, how we adopt to it. So everything matters. So again, I'm repeating, somebody has missed the line. Paul Vidal de la Brache insisted that nature sets limit and offer possibilities for human settlement, but the way man reacts or adjusts to this given condition depend upon his way of living. It refers to inherited, write down, it refers to inherited traits. It refers to inherited traits that members of human community. It refers to inherited traits that members of human community learn. अभी कल्चर का मतलब आप ये मत सोचिए दैट कल्चर कैसे आ गया. कल्चर इसलिए आ गया बिकॉज इट्स अ वे ऑफ लिविंग. ये क्या है? एक वे ऑफ लिविंग है आपका. सो इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ अ कल्चर नाउ. So neither refers to inherited. That's why they use word inherited. Way of living refers to inherited traits that the members of human community learn. What we may call as culture. What we may call as culture. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट आपका है जीन ब्रूनस. Who is he? Jean Brunels. Who is he? He is a disciple. We have already heard about it. Disciple. He was quite aligning with the theories of Paul de la Brache. So we have already seen this in the French geographers when we were covering that. The writer Jean Brunels not only carried forward, French scholar, correct Soumya, Jean Brunels not only carried forward Brache's philosophy of possibilism. He is the one who did not only carry forward the philosophy of possibilism, but he spread it through France, and transmitted to other countries as well. Right on. He seems to have put his theory. ब्रैकेट में लिखेंगे philosophy of possibilism into sacred philosophical and methodological framework. Right down. The critical French historian, he was the one who has named the word possibilism. Right down. The critical French historian Lucien Febvre, Lucien 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 Febvre, Lucien Febvre, in his geographical introduction to history, is credited with having the first termed this philosophy as possibilism. इसको सिंपल वर्ड्स में आप लिख सकते हो Lucian Febvre has coined the term possibilism. बहुत ही सिंपल टर्म्स में, अगर आपको इतना डिफिकल्ट में नहीं लिखना है तो सिंपल में लिखिए कि Febvre has coined the term possibilism. He's credited for that. Write down. To him, man is not a passive being. To him, man is not a passive being, but an active force. To him, man is not a passive being, but an active force. There is no necessities, but everywhere possibilities. But everywhere possibilities. Right? And man, as a master of these possibilities, and man, as a master of these possibilities, is a judge of their use. Okay. What are the criticisms? So there are other scholars also which you can add. There is Isaha Bauman, which I was discussing. Then there is a Karl O. Sor. So all of these were also important. For example, अगर Isaha Bauman की बात करें, उन्होंने बहुत important statement दिया था कि nature controls men only to the extent that men has not understood the nature. उसी लेवल पे जब इंसान को समझ में आने लग गया कि नेचर किस किस लेवल तक चेंज हो सकता है या नेचर से हमें किस तरह से बेस्ट लेना है, जब तक ये समझ में आएगा तब तक ही नेचर हमें कंट्रोल कर सकता है, उसके बाद नहीं. ठीक है. उसी तरह से कार्लोस और he was also from the United States. He was activist of the possibilist movement. So these were the other two scholars you want to add, that's fine. Otherwise we have added quite lot, sufficient scholars we have already added in this. Now write down the criticism of possibilism. क्या criticism है possibilism का? पहला point, ओवर एम्फेसिस ऑन ह्यूमन फैक्टर. क्या आपको नहीं लगता कि पॉसिबिलिज्म में पूरा का पूरा, जैसे एनवायरमेंट में पूरा डोमिनेंट फैक्टर क्या था, एनवायरमेंट ही कंट्रोल करेगा, देयर वाज नो बैलेंस. तो सिमिलरली यहाँ पे क्या बोला कि ह्यूमन हैज द डोमिनेंट फैक्टर. तो यहाँ पे राइट डाउन ओवर एम्फेसिस ऑन ह्यूमन फैक्टर्स. Write down, it suggested that humans can overcome most environmental limitations. It suggested that humans can overcome most environmental limitations. Next, neglect of human constraints. अब इसमें क्या कर दिया, वहां पे किसको अंडरमाइन कर दिया था, ह्यूमंस के रोल को. यहाँ पे किसको अंडरमाइन कर दिया है, नेचर के रोल को. ठीक है, सेम स्टेटमेंट बट आपको डिफरेंट तरीके से लिखना है इसको. राइट डाउन, द थ्योरी अंडर एस्टिमेट्स द रोल ऑफ क्लाइमेट, landforms and natural resources. Next point, technology is not equally available. If you talk about technology, we keep on saying that technology is there which can change the environment, which can change a lot of odds which are present in the nature. But do you think that technology is equally present to all in every place of the earth? No. The technology is only present to whom it's accessible, it's affordable. So technology has not reached to all parts of the world. Basic, forget about technology. आपको basic amenities नहीं पहुंची अभी. When your basic amenities have not reached to every section of the world, how can you expect technology to penetrate? Technology to go in places where it has not reached, where the amenities have not reached. Okay, so write down technology is not equally available. और इसी के नीचे लिखेंगे many countries lack resources. Many countries lack resources. Next point, human power has limits and can lead to environmental exploitation. And can lead to environmental exploitation. ठीक है, अब आप ये देखिए stop and go determinism. ठीक है, इसके बाद एक आता है आपका which finds a balance between both. अब environmental determinism के अंदर और आपका possibilism के अंदर हमें एक बैलेंस लेकर आना था. तो इस बैलेंस का नाम क्या है, which is your stop and go. Stop and go. Why such terms? because they have considered that जहाँ जहाँ there are certain section, उन्होंने ऐसा divide किया इसको, जैसे the traffic lights are being divided, जैसे अगर आपको stop करना है, मतलब वो area जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा landform का trains and everything is quite not so suitable, so वहाँ पे there is no possibility. There are certain areas which still provides you certain kind of a leverage where you can use the technology and still use the area. And there are then the green lights, green areas where you can easily use it. There is no effort, less minimum efforts are required in order to use and have the best out of the nature. So this is known as stop and go. इसका एक और नाम है नियो डिटर्मिनिज्म. तो PYQ के अंदर आपको इस नेम से मिलेगा, स्टॉप एंड गो और नियो डिटर्मिनिज्म, दोनों के नेम से क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है. तो यू शुड नो द ऑल्टरनेट नेम्स आल्सो ऑफ द टर्म्स. इसको मैं एक्सप्लेन करूंगी और आपको खुद लिखना है इसको. आई वोंट बी टेलिंग यू दैट व्हाट टू राइट. आई जस्ट एक्सप्लेन यू टुडे. I'll give you some keywords, then you have to write down in your own terms. This is your second assignment for today. ठीक है. तो स्टॉप एंड गो को क्या बोलते हैं? नियो डिटर्मिनिज्म. क्या है ये? बैलेंस है टू एक्सट्रीम्स में. क्या है एक्सट्रीम्स? एनवायरमेंटल डिटर्मिनिज्म और एंड पॉसिबिलिज्म, दोनों के बीच का एक बैलेंस है. यहाँ पे ज्यादा पावर ना आपको एनवायरमेंट को दी गई है ना ह्यूमंस को दी गई है. ये बोला गया है कि they both have the role to play, but there is certain limits that the nature puts, and there are certain areas where the humans have the capability wherein they can even use the best out of the nature. ठीक है. So the name of the scholar who has promoted it is Griffith Taylor. So Griffith Taylor he has given a lot of contribution in the stop and go. What he said, Griffith Taylor has developed a new philosophy called stop and go or neo-determinism. He stated that well-endowed places, मतलब well-endowed places मतलब of the nature, जहाँ पे आपको possibility है, जहाँ पे there is everything present. So well-endowed parts of the world offer a number of different possibilities of making a living, but some 9/10 of the earth, मतलब कुछ areas of the earth speaks out clearly. This land is too dry, too cold, too wet, or too rugged. Okay? The point is कि कुछ एरिया खुद में ही बोलते हैं, खुद में ही बताते हैं कि we are not so suitable for the usage. ठीक है. So he is also accepting the fact. There is no iota of doubt about it. The nature, there are certain places of the nature where the nature is full of bounty of resources are there. There is no second thought about it. The point is, but there are certain areas where we have to have the odds of the nature are playing a lot in those places, and therefore we cannot do much about it. Okay? So Taylor compared the environment to a traffic signal. ठीक है. टेलर ने किससे कंपेयर किया? एनवायरमेंट को एक ट्रैफिक सिग्नल से कंपेयर किया, जहाँ पे इन्होंने ग्रीन लाइट को बोला गो. सो ग्रीन लाइट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड विद गो. व्हाट डिड इट से? व्हिच प्लेसेस दे आर रेफरिंग टू वेयर एनवायरमेंट परमिट्स डेवलप. जैसे अभी आप एग्जांपल ले लीजिए उत्तराखंड. ठीक है. हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी है, हमारे पास बजट है, हमारे पास फेयर resources and human resources and to work on the land. Now who is putting limits? Nature. Because nature ने क्या बोला? Enough. Why? Because we have overutilized the land so much. Now nature का भी एक limit है ना. This is a perfect example to put in here. So Joshimat, if you everybody have known about it, so this is an excellent example wherein we can talk that how the nature is playing its role when it comes to certain areas. So we have the hydroelectric project over there. Many dams have been constructed over there. Because of the overutilization and the overcapacity, which has reached, it has actually overreached its capacity. So the point here is that the nature has tried to do what? They are trying to tell that nature has certain limits. So तभी हम क्या कह रहे हैं? No more hydroelectric projects over there. No more dam building over there. No more reservoirs should be built over there. Less tourists should go over there. Hotels, you should not construct lot of hotels. तो the hotel का भी construction बंद हो गया. अगर humans के पास इतना ही capability होता, तो why that the thing would have happened. You have seen a lot of buildings getting collapsed in that area. You have seen landslides happening in the monsoon. You have seen that nature, everything is getting what? The cloudbursts are happening. This sab kya hai? This is the repercussions of what humans are doing to the environment. And that's why we say the environment has a limit. ये सब क्या है? ये examples, these are the live evidences, examples of what is there around you. So what do you have to do? You have to see that everything has a limit. So the environment permits development, human activities can proceed with little differently, with little difficulty. Example, एग्रीकल्चर इन फर्टाइल. जैसे एग्रीकल्चर इन फर्टाइल प्लेन्स बहुत आसान है करना. मुश्किल क्या है? एग्रीकल्चर इन अ बैरन लैंड. वो क्या कर सकते हो? नहीं कर सकते. जब लैंड ही बैरन है, उसमें कितना फर्टिलाइजर डालोगे? फर्टिलाइजर बहुत ज्यादा डालोगे तो उसका और ओवर एक्सप्लॉइटेशन हो जाएगा. एक लिमिट तक ही हम उसको यूज कर सकते हैं ना. तो टेलर कंपेयर्ड एनवायरमेंट टू ट्रैफिक. तो ग्रीन सिग्नल को क्या बोला? गो. उसके अंदर आप क्या लिख सकते हो? एनवायरमेंट प्रोवाइड्स डेवलपमेंट, ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज कैन प्रोसीड विद लिटिल डिफिकल्टी. मतलब यहाँ पे मिनिमम कॉन्स्ट्रेंट्स हैं गो में. ठीक है, देयर आर मिनिमम कॉन्स्ट्रेंट्स. एग्जाम्पल क्या लिख सकते हो? एनवायरमेंट इन एग्रीकल्चर एंड एनवायरमेंटल प्लेस. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट आप लिख सकते हो येलो सिग्नल. येलो सिग्नल क्या है आपका? वेयर डेवलपमेंट इज पॉसिबिलिज्म. डेवलपमेंट क्या है यहाँ पे? कि पॉसिबल हो सकता है, इज पॉसिबल बट विथ केयरफुल प्लानिंग. यहाँ पे डेवलपमेंट हो सकता है, पॉसिबल है, बट आपको ध्यान से चलना पड़ेगा. यू हैव टू टेक सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ प्रिकॉशंस व्हाइल यू आर बिल्डिंग दैट अप. एग्जाम्पल लिख सकते हो आप, resources must be widely used, right? In some cases environmental imposes severe limitation. अब स्टॉप में क्या हो जाएगा? जहां पे सीवियर लिमिटेशन है, यू कैन नॉट डू मच अबाउट इट. एनवायरमेंट हैज अ बिगर रोल टू प्ले, सो द ह्यूमन शुड स्टे अवे फ्रॉम इट. ये हो गया आपका एनवायरमेंट. ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ इट हैज बीन पुट. अब क्या Griffith Taylor was the only person who has promoted it? Yes, but there were other scholars also who was promoting the idea of Griffith Taylor. Who were they? He was a Marxist geographer whose name was V. Enuchian. He has an identical standpoint on the philosophy which Griffith Taylor has developed in 1940s. और V. Enuchian ने कब दिया था ये? This was given in 1960. ठीक है, तो I would like you to write on the stop and go right now. अभी लिखिए आप. Write down the answer. Any doubt, online students? Yes, have you written? Soumya? Okay, so what all have you written? So first you have to mention the name of the receipt tailor. Then what else you have to mention? Then mention about the approaches. What sort of approaches? That how he has uh, compared it with go, stop, in yellow light traffic lights, the new determinism. ठीक है, एक ही बात है, दोनों का एक ही मतलब है. So he has said that there are certain areas which are endowed with the natural resources which we can use extensively, but there are areas which are not at all suitable. For example, there are 9/10 areas of the Earth's surface which are not at all suitable for it. So we have to also consider that. ठीक है, यही आपका stop and go है. And he is another scholar, V. Anuchian, and in 1960 he was also supporting the idea of Griffith Taylor. Okay, all right, done. लिख लिया आपने? Good. So, and 2 assignments are given. One is this one, another one is that, and also prepare for your test, which I'm going to take on Saturday. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, class.